So it says, you're truly the unread one. The Bible says atheists can do good sometimes. Romans 2:14. So she's citing passages in Romans where it says that Gentiles did what was contained in the law, but that's not saying they did the law. I mean, and if she's trying to say that atheist attempts at doing the law was something good, that is the most flawed understanding of this verse that I've heard so far. So the verse in question is Romans 2:14, for the Gentiles which have not the law, right? So it says they don't have the law, right? They were never given the law. Do by nature the things contained in the law. So would you assume that when they do by nature the things contained in the law, they're doing all of the law perfectly all the time? No, because then it goes on to say, these having not the law are a law unto themselves, which show the work of the law written in their hearts. That's not the law of Moses. That's their own version, because just keep reading. That's all we got to do here. Their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts, the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. So it's as if they have a subjective version of what the law would be. That's really what that's saying. When you break it down, we cannot possibly say that atheists, non-believers, that's what she's saying in her comment, sometimes do good, right? There's none good but God. All of our righteousnesses are as filthy rags. There's not a just man upon the earth who doeth good and sinneth not. Yet she's crediting, and she's saying that because of not Jack Smack, sorry, Greg Jackson's quote where he says, even my atheist neighbor can do a good deed. He has free will, that comment. So right here, where she says that, she says atheists can do good sometimes. Show me a verse that says that. I mean, this is someone who's just making stuff up. And
Yeah.
then she says, okay, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, it's just in that passage. It's talking about that the works of the law written on, and it's talking about self-justification system in their own minds, like it says in the Old Testament that everyone did what was right in their own eyes. That
Sure.
it's becoming a law unto yourself, antinomos, and that's how the people were that weren't given the law, because it says they weren't given the law. So you can't say, well, they had the law. Well, they weren't given the law, and then they'll say, well, it says it was written on their heart. No, it doesn't. It doesn't say that the law of God was written on our heart, because we have passages that say, this is the pact that I will make with the house of Israel after those days. I'll write my laws on their hearts. So that's to a particular group of people, not to these, pagans off, these Gentile pagans here. So the works of the law is it's talking about a self-justification in their own minds and their own conscience, bearing witness, their thoughts excusing or accusing them, their thoughts. It's their own mind game that they're playing as they do what is right in their own eyes. And you can see from culture to culture throughout human history, the shifting tide of morality, how it changes from, think about how the Spartans' morality and how everybody agreed with it within the culture. They would accuse or excuse. They excused their behavior and the way they did things, and that's the way it is in the Mayan culture and the Roman cultures and all these cultures, and even existing today in China and stuff. People, have their own version of morality where they, um, you know, take God out of the system as the ultimate, but they, in their own minds, they might have some idolatrous conceptualization of God, which is really the point here on the, Romans 2 going from Romans 1. But yeah, this isn't saying that they had God's 10 commandments written on their heart. That's the common mistake.
Right. And look, just look at it through this lens real quick. It just became crystal clear for me, if it hadn't been already. Just read this sentence and take it as it is, which shows the work of the law written in their hearts. So it's the law written in their hearts. That's not the law of God. It's the law written in their hearts, right? Which is subjective. That's why today you have people who have a general idea that, and I'm not saying even most, unbelieving people think this, but there's a larger swath of people every year who tend to believe that it's okay to put their children on puberty blockers. Let's give our daughter puberty blockers so she could become a man. You know, how insane is that? But to them, that's something justifiable. Well, she really wants to be a man. You know, let's put her on steroids and
Yeah.
testosterone. You know, I mean, how insane is that? You're touched in the head to think that. You've become a law unto yourself, excusing and accusing others.
Yeah, free will people use this because they think, oh, you know, and they're kind of making a false gospel with it too. Like, well, God's seen some of these, you know, Gentile pagans off in the jungle somewhere keeping the law, and so, you know, he'll probably have mercy on them. You know, like as though they'll be saved through some law obedience or something, because, you know, God is happy through their law, you know, adherence. Yet we see that there's just a universal guilty ruling that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and that's universally everybody. By the works of the law, no flesh will be justified in his sight. For only through the law comes the knowledge of sin. That would have to do with everybody on the planet. Whatever the law says, it says to those who are under the law that the whole world would become guilty before God and every mouth would be stopped. So that is the guilty ruling. So for them to appeal to this passage as though, oh, no, there's these people over here keeping the law. No, they're not. That's not what this passage is saying. Like there's these Gentiles off in the jungle somewhere keeping the law. That's not what this passage is saying. So, you know, it's just a desperate attempt usually because they don't understand the passage and it's obscure to them. They read in a meaning. They read in a meaning they think supports their position.